Good morning and welcome back to Hammond's Upholstery. It's a lovely day here, a little overcast, but you know, it's still a nice day. Right, so we're going to take up where we did in the last video with this suite. As you can just see, the sofa over my shoulder there with no seat in it, and the other tub chair that's been ripped up. The seat needs to come out of that tub chair because we're going to re-web them, respring them anyway. So back to the one that's on my bench that you saw in the last video. We just finished off putting this seat back into it, and I'm going to put a layer of felt over the seat and a layer of Lux Bond before we finish the seat off. Then we can pull the inside back down, get that done, outside back on, and then it's the long job of nailing it. A lot of nails going to be going in this. So let's get on with that. My cup of tea's ready to go. There you go. The mug needs a clean, but it's my mug and I'm drinking out of it, so I don't mind. So let's get on with this, and you can join us and see how it goes. So, like I said, I'm going to put a layer of felt on this seat and then a Lux Bond. So I'll just tear the felt off. This is a very soft needle felt. There are different types of felt that you can get out there. This one I wouldn't recommend for anything other than what I'm really doing here. It doesn't add any structure to anything. It's just more about the feel. It will add structure to an item or bulk, but you have to roll it up and compress it to do it. So I'm just tearing it off at the front edge. I don't want it coming over the front edge too much. It's just there to take the harshness off of that stitched edge. So now a layer of the 8-ounce Lux Bond. Lux Bond comes in different weights. We use, majority of the time, we use the 8-ounce here. Little cuts so it goes round the leg at the back. You can see it pull through the side here. Cut so it goes round the leg at the front. Tearing out the excess. Like I said, I don't really want much of it hanging over this front edge. I want to keep that nice and clean and square. Traditionally, the seats would have been very slim because of the materials they would have had. Like you already seen, this one's just stuffed full of straw. Albeit this is a reproduction. So I'm just feeling for the top of that seat rail So I'm stapling this to the top of the seat rail, not onto the front edge of the seat rail, because the seat rail here is very slender, so I don't want to cause any issues for myself stapling the fabric. So I'm stapling the Lux Bond to the top of that seat rail. I'm going to trim that off now, and that will expose the front of that seat rail, but it hasn't put any bulk on there, so it's nice and clean for attaching the cover and then subsequently nailing through. So this will get used on something else. That's out of the way. So I just got to cut the seat and get that on. Right, so quick slurp of my tea and get on with the seat. I've cut the fabric now for this seat. I've cut them for both, to be honest with you, but I'll only show you the one. So I've allowed myself plenty of fabric and tuck it in at the back, trying to keep everything square. If you've got a pattern, etc., that is something you've definitely got to be wary of, but I'm just tucking this in at the moment, making sure I've got enough to be able to pull over the front. Right, let's have a look at the back. So I start with the back, tucking the fabric down with my hands, folding it in front of the leg that I've got to make the cuts for. So it's important to get this tucked in as far as you can and the seat clean, because we want the cuts that I'm going to make to be in the right place. If they're not in the right place, the seats either scrap or you struggle to hide your cuts. So I'm cutting from the centre of the seat towards the rail, and then as I get closer to the rail, I'm going to cut a little dart into a little V so the fabric can go either side of the rail. I will show you that better in a drawing, I think. I just make these cuts. Hopefully then it'll make a bit more sense. So let's get a pen and paper and I can show you what I mean. Bear with me whilst I draw this sketch. So there we have the front edge of the seat and the two rear legs. So I'm cutting from an imaginary centre of the seat to each leg. And I'll just draw that line so you can see what I mean. So I'm cutting from the centre to the centre of the leg, and as I get closer to it, about an inch away from the leg, I stop and do a cut to either side of the leg. Obviously this is where the fabric is folded back, so you lay the seat on in the correct way, tuck it in, fold it back, and then you make your cut around the leg. So this leaves me the maximum amount of fabric to go each side of that leg. Okay, so let's do that. Right, that's that. Right, I'll be back in a second. So please ignore the bandsaw in the background. I hope you can still hear me okay. It's just my colleague cutting some foam for some stall tops. So I'm just tucking that fabric down the side at the back, through the centre and either side of the leg, like so. Now I'm going to make the cut to allow the fabric to go past the front leg. Similar process, cutting from the centre to the front leg at an angle. This gives me maximum fabric on this front edge here to play with. There you go. So now I'm going to start pulling off or stapling off the fabric at the back. So start with the centre. Put the staple in now. Fold the fabric around the leg, that salvage that we've now got. Pull. Trying to use the minimum amount of staples as I can, because if I've got to alter it, it's more staples to take out, therefore more damage to the fabric. We're just trying to, at this point, get everything in place and check everything's okay. So putting some pressure, smoothing the fabric from the back to the front, pushing down on it, bringing some tension into the fabric. One staple on there. Now we're going to go pulling from the opposite side diagonally across the seat to this other side of the front edge. Pulling it diagonally enables us to bring it out as clean as possible at this point. Staple in there. Right, okay, so that will come out nice and clean now along that front edge. Because I've pulled it tight, the cuts on the front of these arms aren't quite deep enough, so we're going to adjust that. And pull that through, like so. Okay, let's put that there. So that's the seat, nearly done, and it's got the minimum amount of staples holding it in. So let's get that front edge cutting the majority of the salvage out the way now. Tuck that down here. nice little pleat on that front edge. There. And one there. Okay. That staple didn't stay in because of the damage to this front rail from it being done previously, so just adjust it and find somewhere else to put that staple. Right, so there you have it, minimal amount of staples, and the seat is now in. We've got the tension front to back, we've got, this is the seat here, so we've got a couple of staples, one at each side of the leg, one at the front. This will all pull down nicely, add additional tension into the seat. But the important thing is the seat looks done now with minimal amount of staples, so I can adjust things if necessary. You're not going to get the seat clean if you just start stapling all the way around and trying to pull it. You need to get everything laid on into the correct position, then fill in with the staples. So I'll do that off camera and pull off the inside back, pull that down, and come back to you when the insides of the top chair are done. Okay, so that's the seat and the back pulled off. Like I said to you previously, once we've pulled the inside back out, it's got these creases out round here. But you have to get it as clean as possible to start with, because you're not just going to be able to pull all the creases out. So that's why I temporary everything on, make sure it's clean before I put the final staples in. As you can see around the edge here, it's all finished off. I will tuck this out of the way in a minute, but it's all stapled down onto this rail nicely, so you can't put your hand through the side. Nice seat, sounds like a drum. The back's very similar but a bit softer. So now we've got the outside back to do. So I've got a template for the outside back, so I'll get that cut and machined up, and then I'll show you me putting that on, so you can come back and join me for that. Then it's a case of just putting the bottom cloth on it. As you can see, we've got a whole new webbed and sprung seat in this now. We'll do the same for the other two pieces. The customer was happy with the seat in the chairs, but I wasn't happy with them, so I've replaced them anyway, just to avoid any difficulties later. And I always like to send furniture out as I would expect it to be in my own home. So there you go, that's the seat done, and we'll be back shortly. So I've just cut and sewn the outside backs here, done both of them at the same time, so those go on there. First off though, before we put the top cover on, I'm going to put some webs on these outside backs. Initially, or originally, these were just stuffed full of felt here on the outside backs. We're not going to do that. We're going to web the outside backs and then put a layer of Lux Wand over it, and then the top cover. Right, so that's the outside back on this now. You may ask why I webbed the outside back and use a Lux Bond, whereas the chair traditionally had just fibre, a cotton felt in there. I'll just show you the reason why I've not done this. This is the cotton felt that was in there. So this would have been stuffed into the wing here, into that void. The problem with that is that it can move. It's not fixed, it's not stable. So, you know, it can slide, it can move around in there and create lumps in the outside back. So how I've done it with the webs and Lux Bond is a lot more stable. So this won't get thrown away. It'll get used in a seat on something else because it's perfectly good once we tease it apart. But that's the reason why I've chosen to web it and Lux Bond the outside back. So the tub chair is pretty much done now. We've got to put bottom cloth on it, and then I've got to nail it. It's going to be done with loose nails. I'll just try and find you that if you've not seen them on a previous. We're going to use these loose nails here. You can see them. Go each one individually tapped in. The other option is to use strip nails, like so. So that's a strip nail, and every 5th hole you put a nail in, like so, of the correct colour. Okay, so you can see the difference there, so it shows you which is the nail that goes in. We do use these. They are cheaper than doing them individually, but for me it reminds me of pub furniture. It's not traditional enough for me. We will use it if we are doing pubs. So there you go. So I'm going to put the bottom cloth on this and then start nailing it. I'll come back to you and show you the finished project. You don't need to see me nailing this, it takes a while, and you've seen me nail before. So we'll be back with a finished project hopefully soon. So here we have it, the tub chair's done. It's got the nailing all the way around it, and I've touched up the polish work as well. It's got the bottom cloth on it as well. So that's all done, 1 of 2. There's 2 of these tub chairs and the 2-seater. But they're basically the same. Certainly the other tub chair is exactly the same. The 2-seater has just got a wider back in it. But the process will be the same. We'll be replacing the coil sprung seat and adding a little bit more fibre to the back and so on, like you've seen us do or seen me do in this video. So I'll just take the camera off the tripod and show you a little bit closer of what it looks like, and that will do us. So here we have it a little bit closer. You can see the loose nails, individual nails all the way around the inside back, the seat, and right the way around the outside back on this particular chair. We've touched up the polish work where necessary, given it a wipe over just to freshen it up. I think you agree, the tub chair looks as good as new. There you have it. So that's it for this tub chair. It's the end of part 2. I'm not sure what we're on with next. We've got some drop-in seats to do. We may go through them with yourself, just so you can see what more of the simple jobs we do. But I'll see how I feel. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Not really meant to be instructional. There are lots of ways of doing different things and same outcome, hopefully. Certainly here. But anyway, I hope this has informed you as always, and you learn a little bit more about what goes on in our upholstery workshop. It's very warm in here today, so I'm going to leave it there. So please like and subscribe, and we'll keep the content coming. Thank you.